record at least this portion. All right. So everybody has their IDE open, and for this portion, I need everybody to speak up to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind. If you are behind, you're going to share your screen, and we're going to see what's wrong with it. So there's two ways for you to communicate. Is one is a thumbs up that you're good to go, or you just speak up, right? So if you have a mic issue, whatever is the problem, you can just do a thumbs up. For those who's not going to participate because you're joining from the phone, maybe you're middle of the work, whatever's the case, then just do thumbs up, and it's fine. Okay, so let's see who's going to be participating to make sure that we're getting this portion of the work done in class, right? So let's do the thumbs up, and those who are not going to do, that's totally fine. You can do it later on your own time. This is being recorded, so you can actually do this later. Okay, so Arafat is going to do it. Evelina is going to do it. Who else? Mukta is going to do it. All right. Anika, you're not doing it? Okay, you're going to do it too. All right, so only like 4 or 5 of you guys, it is probably concerning because, you shouldn't be watching from your phone unless you're like working or something, or you took a break between work. Okay, so, all right, it is what it is. So let's move on. So once you have your Selenium, the IntelliJ idea, just keep in mind, we are looking to build this light automation framework. I'll call it a light automation framework this time because it doesn't have a lot of things. We're still missing a few more items within this framework to make it more powerful. Okay, so, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on File. Everybody click on File. And you want to click on New, click on Project. Once you click on Project, this time give it a new name. So maybe you can say Light Automation Framework. Okay. All right. This looks like I already have something like this from the past classes. So I'm going to just give maybe lowercase l, right? So at least it will not match. It does match it. Okay. So for me, Light Automation Framework 1. For everybody else, is going to be Light Automation Framework. I'm going to click on Java and then Maven. And then JDK, you want to choose whatever version of Java you have in your computer. It will pop up here. You can choose which version you want. For me, is 18.0.1 is installed already, so I'll just choose that. Now, anybody that cannot get to this far, you're choosing Java, you're choosing Maven, and then all we have to do, click Create. I'm going to hit Create, okay? And then you will see that you have to open a new window or this window. Don't open this window because then it will just show up in the bottom. I just want to open a new one. So it's fresh and clean. I'm going to go and remove my old things. Now, for those who are following this, tell me how many people were able to get to this far and you see exactly pom.xml.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, Arafat is good. Evelina, you're good?
I'm checking. Hold on 1 second.
Yep. And Anika, you're fine, right? Okay, Mukta's fine.
Let me share my screen. I see something else.
Okay, that's totally fine. And that's why we are, let me stop sharing so I can see yours. Go ahead and show me your screen. You can share.
Joe, I'm getting on my laptop right now and I got up to the new project. I just didn't see if you put on add sample code or no.
So right now we're just creating, like everything is empty, right? So I don't put any samples. I don't have to because it's just going to be everything from scratch. So if you follow the steps, you should be able to, go from here.
Okay.
Yeah. So now that, okay, so what it is that you have question, Anika? Okay, so you're okay. So basically, you went to your main class because you probably have a sample, hello world there. So if you click on pom.xml, right there, Maven, on the left side. Yeah, just open that. Okay, so if you open that, you see this is where I am expecting everybody to be. So you do have Maven version 19, so you're fine, right? So this is where everybody should be at this point, whether you have 18, 19, whatever is the version on your computer, you're fine, okay? So everybody at this point,
I'm sorry, I have like a
Mhm.
sync at the bottom. What does that mean exactly? Or it's irrelevant?
is syncing or sync?
Just says sync. That's it at the
Okay,
bottom.
this is basically for you to, so Maven project has this because what if you want to like make changes to your list and you want to sync after that, right? Maybe you want to install more things. But if you want to share, I can give you a accurate answer. I'm just basically guessing that the sync is probably, you're talking about the hammer or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, we're good.
Okay, okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Cool. So now nobody is left behind, right? If you're behind, trust me, you got enough time. We can give you time to get up to this much. We don't want to leave you behind.
Excuse me, I have a problem because my
Mm-hmm.
computer is not working. So I have to set up. Because right now,
What
the
is
reason
not
I
working?
am watching from the cell phone. I am from my
Okay,
cell phone.
okay. Okay, so that's fine. This is being recorded. My recommendation for those who, I know some of you guys are actually doing it from work. So for those who is not able to try it now, when you get home, at least you'll be able to do this because we're doing it together. So if any of them has problem, obviously you'll see what kind of problem and how we handle it.
Okay.
So you shouldn't have any problem when you do it later on your own time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. In terms of computers, guys, remember, you can make your life a lot easier if you get up-to-date computer. So if your computer is generally slow, my recommendation is even if you have to buy a computer with monthly, like, installment, do it because that's gonna really make your life much, much easier. But if you feel like, okay, you know what? No, I don't want to own a computer. I just have one and I just want to work with this. Just get a computer brand new because Best Buy gives you like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to return. Use it for 1 or 2 weeks and see for yourself what is the difference. And then you can decide whether you want to keep that new computer or you want to keep your old computer. But either way, don't make your life hard because you don't have the right tool, right? If you're a plumber and you don't have the right tools, you know what I'm saying? Our bread and butter is computer. So you better have a real, working machine, something that is going to do, something is not going to make you go around and wait for things. You just want to get it done right away. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so once we are at this point, we need to download all the dependencies we need. We already did that ahead of time ourselves. So if you do want to go ahead of me, feel free. But if you don't, that's fine. We can just do that together. So the next thing you want to do is that you want to go to Maven repository. And if you go ahead and type Maven repository on Google, you're going to see this website. And first item on our list is Selenium. And Selenium, we use it to control browser, obviously. So we're going to click on Selenium Java because that is the Selenium WebDriver. So if you want to read a little bit, it says Selenium provides supports for automation of web browsers. It provides extensive to emulate user interaction with the browser. So it tries real hard to be as a good representative of an actual human being, right? So whatever it does, it tries to be a human. A distribution of server scaling, browser allocation, and in infrastructure for implementation of W3C web driver specification. So it does follow a specific standard, which is called W3C. And we'll talk about that at some point, what that is. So now, if you're here and you're confused about different version, like I said, the way that I choose version is by how many people are using it. Obviously, these are brand new. We can choose brand new, not a problem. Maybe you're not going to see any issues and it's totally fine. but I like to choose something that is highly used is because I don't want to deal with unnecessary setup because maybe the new version has a new way of dealing with new things. And I don't want to find out right now, especially if the RC version are right here, the beta version, alpha versions that are here. So people, I would say real companies haven't been even moved on from this version to this version just yet because still, it does take a lot of time and energy to go into new versions. So I'll take this one for now, and then maybe the next framework that we built will use the latest one and see what kind of difficulties that we're facing. So go ahead and choose 3.1.4, and everybody should choose this because that way we know that we will see the same exact issue. So for me is 18. If you have 19, that's totally fine. So don't panic in terms of Maven. And then the first thing you want to do is see like how Maven property, and then this is the close property. So this is opens up property, and this is for closing the property. So since we're gonna have dependency, we want to put dependencies. We're gonna open up. This is the first tag. This is the open tag. We're gonna close the tag and the bottom, right? So closing the tag, we do it like this, right? So all I have to do is open this, and now automatically types it up for me. So this is the close. So opening of the tag and then closing of the tag. We have to put our dependency inside of this. I'm gonna space up a little bit. I'm gonna paste my Selenium WebDriver. At this point, if I want to check if how my Selenium WebDriver is and if it's working or not, right away I can see that it says upgrade. I don't want to upgrade right now. I can click on this M to start loading my Selenium, right? Anybody at this point lost? Everybody is in the same page, right? Speak up. If you don't speak up,
Yeah.
you will be where you are. Okay.
Yeah.
You went
Everybody's good,
into
right?
Selenium Java, right? 3.1 for 1.59.
Exactly. If you do see like these three lines are exactly the same, then you're good to go. You can even type it in too, but I wouldn't recommend. Why do you want to type it in when you can just get it from here, right? And it's not like you're copying and copying code, right? This is you need this, right? This is dependency. Okay. Seems like everybody's good. I can move forward, right? Just like I said,
No,
just
wait.
stop me.
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Wait 1 second. Hold on.
Sure.
So you put in dependencies, right? You wrote that in.
Oh, sorry. I wrote the dependencies plural, right? So think like this is a bigger bucket that contains all the dependency, all the singular item. Because we're going to have more than one dependency, we have dependencies outside. Now, your question could be like, okay, how do I remember this? This is how it's going to be at all times for any Selenium framework you'll ever create in the future. So just remember it. That's it. There's nothing to, there is not going to be any difference. The only difference is that we may need different dependency, but you know that you have to have dependencies outside for these guys, for this dependency, right? So now that you have this, everybody's good. We're going to go into the next one. The next one, I know we want JUnit and it's for assertion. So right now, we already know what Selenium WebDriver is. We already know what JUnit is. We already know what JDK is used for. We already know what Maven is. It's crystal clear. So now for JUnit, what I will do is the same thing. I'll go into, let me just go ahead and remove all this access browsers from my screen. Okay, so right here, I'm going to type it again, JUnit. And when I type it, I see like so many JUnit and stuff. And you can ask me a question, how do I know which one is right? We're just looking for JUnit, right? So this is JUnit is a unit test framework. So JUnit actually used more by the developer for unit test cases. So they create their test separately. And you already know what unit test is. We went over this in our previous class. But we use JUnit for assertion. It does have a few things that we can use. Now, the other question you can ask is that, okay, can I have as many library as I need, as many as items that I can see so many things in here, right? Can I get a random stuff, right? Yes, you can. You can actually have it here, but if you don't use it, it's just going to be there, right? It's like you got a apple, orange, and you got banana in your basket. If you're not hungry, you're not going to use, let's say, any of them, right? You're not using it. But if you're, let's say, hungry and you're not that hungry, you only ate, let's say, apple, and you still have banana and orange in your basket, right? It's the same thing. If you're not using it, you're not really causing any harm to your framework or anything. So you can have as many dependencies as you need, but you want to be clean. You don't want to have like thousands of dependencies listed up here where you're confused when to use and what, right? So you should only keep dependencies that you're using. And if you're not using, just don't keep. So that way you already know which list of items that you're using and if you need anything extra, right? Okay, so with that said, we're gonna add the JUnit. If I click on that, I will just take the latest because so far latest didn't give me an issue. So I'll just take it. One good feature of this website is that if you just click on it, it automatically copies it for you. You don't even have to like highlight and paste it or copy it or anything. So notice I put another dependency. The reason why this XML didn't give me an error, because XML has their own way of writing things, right? They have their own format. The reason why it didn't give me an error is because we have dependencies outside. Says I will have multiple dependency inside of this excuse me. So just keep that in mind, right? This is in according to how the XML is expecting us to write. We're writing in XML right now. So a little bit of XML knowledge is that you always have a tag, and inside of the tag, you put whatever properties you need, information, properties, whatever is the case. So this is your dependencies tag, and then inside of that, you're putting another dependency tag. This is a single dependency, which is specifically for Selenium. This is a single dependency for JUnit. So just like that, we're missing one more, I think two more, whatever is the case. If I go back in the list, we're missing the WebDriver manager. We'll add that for now, and then we're gonna do testng. I don't know, maybe we'll do testng even right now. So we'll do testng right now too. It's not a problem. So I'll go ahead and take the latest because it's a WebDriver manager. I do want the latest because then it can grab the latest browser. So if there's any browser version change, it will get the latest anyway. So that's good. So now I got all three versions. The last thing is testng. So testng, we haven't used that yet. So I'm going to show you how testng test looks like at the end, right? So let's see after we finish our first test. Okay, so far we are good. All three, you guys got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I only have two, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Take your time. Like I said, we're not gonna rush you. As long as you tell us you're stuck somewhere, we'll stay. Now, I don't know if Amit, you're still following up. I thought, you're using your phone. But if you are following and you're behind, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up as much as possible.
Okay, no worries. So far, we built an empty project. We went to pom.xml. We then went to Maven repository where it just gives us the list of libraries that we can get. And we do have already some libraries that we thought out what we needed for and why we need. And then we search them here, we find them. After we find them, we're just going and choosing a version that we need. And then we're just going and copying the XML portion of it, right? And this XML portion is basically just telling your Java project or your Maven project actually that, okay, these are the items that I would like to be adding to this project and part of this project. So that way, whenever I need to use anything, I will be using part of this. This actually, like, if you really think about it, Selenium, it's grabbing a folder. Inside of the folder, there is a lot of functions. Same thing for JUnit. There is a lot of classes, which are functions that can do something for you. So you're going to be calling instead of creating. We're not going to go and create everything from scratch. So these are different items over the years people created, and we're just grabbing their already invented work, which they're willingly putting it out there for public to grab. And we're doing that. and they also maintain it too. So it would be very risky for a company to use this because it's something that someone needs to maintain. So every open source, you'll see that somebody or some organization, for example, TestNG has their own organization. If I can click open, you can see they have their website and everything, and they do have donation button on the bottom, but they have dedicated people that actually focus on this project itself to make sure that everybody else in the world who's using TestNG, they can rely on them in terms of security, in terms of getting this up to date with the current technology. Okay, so just keep in mind. But if you feel like you are a developer who who needs something different from TestNG, for example, as a library, you can also contribute. You can actually pull this project on your machine, and you can then write code and then tell them, hey, can you accept my code? And if they like it, they will accept it. And now this is available to the whole world, right? And they will probably add your name to the list also as a contributor. This is a big deal because if you're a contributor, now we're talking about consulting. You may get consulting gigs and people will know that you are just not just one of the random developer, you are the person who knows their stuff, right? So just keep in mind. So
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. You went into GitHub, right? Did you get that one? I missed that one because I saw you doing TestNG, but I didn't see you did
Okay,
GitHub.
yeah. So this one is
Right.
basically called WebDriver Manager. So if you go to the Maven repository and write WebDriver Manager, right? And the first one, right? So write WebDriver Manager. Once you get it, this is actually coming from GitHub. So, and then you just take 5.3.1, the latest, you click on it, it copies it, and then you just paste it.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the third one. And the last one was TestNG, which we doing it for the first time now in this project. So this is something different. So all you have to write is TestNG. It's not test ing, but it's TestNG, next generation. And for next generation NG for. Okay, so once we get the TestNG, you can also grab the latest. Again, like I said, it's really up to you what version you want to grab. But if you want to be safe, you want to grab something prior to the very latest. But in this case, I grabbed the latest. It's fine. It's not as important as Selenium. Selenium, I wouldn't grab the latest because there is a potential that there might be some issue because we're going to use Selenium more than anything else. Okay. Now, how many people missing any of the dependency? We added 1, 2, 3, 4 dependencies. Anybody missing? Everybody is all at this point good to go. So if I ask you to share your screen, you'll have all of them. So Mukta has it so far. Evelina, you're good. Anika is good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And then Arafat is good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Amit, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, so that's good. So most of you guys are fine. If I miss anybody, just let me know if you're behind. So now at this point, you have choices, right? On your IntelliJ, you have this icon, right? So far it's popping up and it's because it's just telling you like, hey, do you want to load this item? So what it is going to do, if you click on this, it will go ahead and download everything and put it into this folder. It will download a fresh copy of all this, right? If you didn't do the way that we're doing right now using Maven, you would physically have to download and put it in here. Okay, that's what you have to do. Nothing special about it. It's not magic, right? It just knows the version and everything, and it finds it from wherever it has, right? And it will download it automatically and put it in here. That's where Maven comes handy, right? So you don't have to do this individually. All you have to do is list it. And it also adds convenience. Think about it. If you share your project with your coworker, you don't have to tell him like what version or anything. He will already know which versions of libraries you're using, and he doesn't even have to go and download it. He can just go ahead and click on this guy right here as soon as he has your project. If you send him a zip file, for example, if you send him a zip file, you're not going to send this garbage, right? All these libraries, you're going to send only the project itself, right? So, all right. So when you clicked on that icon, the next thing you see that everything is green and it's happy and healthy. If you guys want to learn a shortcut, it's called Command Option, right? So first highlight everything, Command A, Command Option L for Mac users. and then command. So Windows command, I think like option or something, or Windows for Windows users, and L will fix your code to make it a nice format automatically. Okay, so you'll put it into nice order, like the indentation is going to be right and everything like that. Okay, so just keep in mind.
I'm sorry, I'm getting an error.
Okay, let's share your screen and then we go from there. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share. Anybody else getting error, or everybody is good? So pom.xml has a syntax error, and that's fine. That's perfectly normal. As a developer, you're gonna get this kind of messages, and we have to fix it, right? So let's see exactly where you have syntax error. So the red line on the right side, just click on that.
This one?
On the right side, scroll now up on the scroll bar. Yeah, right there. There you go. Okay, when you clicked on that, and okay, let's see. It says unknown, something unknown. Okay, so let's see. All right, I see the error, right? Oh, never mind. I don't see the error. Okay. 1 second. I just where is the red? Okay, can you keep going down all the way down? Okay, I see it. I see it. I sit down. Okay, so everything, all the dependencies, so should have been inside of project. So what you can do, there's 2 easy fix, right? One fix is that you move your project closing tag all the way in the bottom and it'll fix it itself, or you copy from dependencies to dependency and then put it inside of the project. Source is yours. Okay, so you see the project, it should have been all the way in the bottom because it should be inside of project. So you just copy
This
that.
one right here, right?
Yeah.
Cut or
And cut.
copy?
Yeah, cut it, yeah. And then paste it all there in the end. You know what happened, right?
Yeah, it's like closing, I guess, a bracket
Yeah,
or
your
something.
closing happened already before you, before you were able to. Okay, let's wait until the project fixes itself. Okay. Right. Why is it so much red? Okay. So you got so many dependency, like you see the tags you have, it's like extra additional tags. So get rid of those 2.
This one?
Yeah, this one, get rid of it. Yeah, and then the next one, yep. And then the next one. Okay, and then go up and delete the other one, like on the top, line number 44. Line number 44, yeah, that tag is not needed because remember dependency is already there. And then line number 37, delete. Line number 38, sorry, 28, yeah, go for it. Do you have a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Windows, okay. So do Control A, Command, so Windows button and Command and L at the same time, and it will probably fix all the code to be in a
Windows
nice format.
button. Command, you're saying?
Okay, before that, let's see, why is this still red? Click on the hammer for me. On that hammer. Okay. Let's just build that first. Okay, is something happening? When you clicked on it, what happened? Okay, executing, let's see. Okay, anybody else have the similar problem?
Evelina,
Geez.
what kind of laptop are you using? Is it an Asus?
No, HP.
Okay, because I have an Asus and it's like a regular. I don't know if HP has like a My HP thing that you might have to disable because I had that same issue and it like when I first downloaded IntelliJ, it was like giving me issues like this.
Okay, how do I do that?
Okay, so it's all red, right? Okay, so let me just
Yeah, I don't know
see
if that
one
might be
thing.
it, but
Yeah, let me just see one thing. Go ahead and get rid of everything and put it into like, show me like at least pom.xml, just do Command Z until you have nothing in your pom.xml.
I'm sorry, this right here?
Yeah, so Control C or something on your from this. Yeah, just keep pressing Control Z and go all the way to the point where you have nothing. And
Control
just keep
Z.
pressing it. Yeah, and just hold Control Z all the way and
Okay.
let it do its thing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I see a problem, right? I don't see pom.xml. You created the pom.xml yourself?
No, I did the project. New project. Java Maven, create. I erased the sample code. I used to have this pop up and
Right.
created it that way.
Where is the pom.xml though? Let's
if
create
I
another
do-
project. Okay, let's just create it from scratch here. That's one. Okay, that's fine.
Java
Java
Maven.
Maven.
Okay.
Then create. Okay. And this time, let's see what options. It didn't give you anything. Like
Right.
it's gonna say which
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now that you're in this,
Mhm.
I'm gonna send you my dependencies.
Mhm.
Just put it right before the end of the project. Okay, so on the chat, and this is like anybody else is struggling with this, just go ahead and take this. So copy what I just sent so far.
Putting it right here, right?
Yeah, go ahead and paste it there.
Mhm.
Okay, now you see the M on the right side, just press that. Yeah. All right. So we may have like older version of the, because yeah, it does look a little bit different for me compared to mine. Okay. So now that you have everything synced, okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, you're good. So
Good,
you're at
thank
the,
you.
yeah, you're at the same level as everybody else. Okay. Anybody else have same problem? No, right? Okay, good. So now that you guys have this, I think Evelina's missing test NG. So you wanna right after your WebDriver, just go and get the last one, test ng. It's called test ng right there, and then just put it like this. I'll just send it to you. Okay, everybody else is fine, right? Anybody else before we go into the next thing, because we're going to be writing code and kind of
I'm sorry, where is the test ng going?
this is going to go right after the last item, last dependency, right?
WebDriver,
So
right?
yeah, WebDriver manager. So right after that,
And it's going
but
in
it should be
between.
it should
In
be
between.
inside of dependencies. Inside of dependencies.
That means like underneath the dependencies or above it, if you know what I
Show
mean.
you. Okay. Yeah, no problem. So
sorry.
look, yeah, no worries. So you see like where you have WebDriver manager
Yeah.
and then visit dependency. So all you have to do is wherever is the ending for your dependencies, just give it a space and paste it. So it's inside of dependencies. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, and then you just press that button again and it'll install it. Okay, so let's see now that we have all of these, right? Again, just reiterating or understanding what these things are, right? So each one have like each of this library, right? They have something for us to use, right? Selenium will allow you to do something with the browser. So anything to do with browser, it will do it for you, right? It will basically give you the ability to deal with the browser instead of you coming up with clever ideas, right? So for example, if you want to click on it, it'll say, okay, use .click. If you want to, let's say, type something, it'll say send keys, right? And if you want to deal with a drop down, it will say, okay, just select the drop down by option 1, option 2, option 3. So it gives you the ability to deal with any UI elements. So anything on a web page, Selenium thinks is an element, right? So it will deal with those elements for you as long as you can properly instruct. Then you have JUnit, which is really used by developers to create unit test, but we use it for ourselves for assertion. We just want to validate expected and actual results, okay? The lastly, WebDriver Manager, because we have to deal with so many browsers, It could be Firefox, Chrome, IE, whatever browsers that you want to choose. This person or this library will give you the ability to set it up and also open that browser for you. And lastly, TestNG, which is going to give you a nice report and it'll make your test look really, really good. So this is for organizing tests, and this is basically following a guideline and making your test looks much better. So we're going to use that toward the end, but let's first make sure these things are working. Okay, so let me go into my source. So when I click on source, there's two files, especially the test file. This is where we actually write our tests. On the main file, in reality, we will write maybe like helper class, like something that will help us during the testing. This is where we will keep utilities, anything that can help, but the test will go into this specific folder. In here, you can create a new package based on, like your test types, right? Or you can directly create a class where you can write your test. So for now, let's create a class to make sure we're all good. The first class we're going to create is just Java simple class. So you can give it a name, first class or something, or maybe whatever you want, first test, right? So maybe first test. And then once you create it, because this is a Java class, we need public static void main for us to be able to test to make sure everything is everything is working as it should, right? So it's going to be same thing. Remember when we did the Java class, public static void main, okay, and string array with args, and then we will open it up. So once we do that, here whatever I type, it will execute, right? Because it needs the main to be executed. Now, if I want to make sure if my Java is working, I'll say system.out.println, and I'll just write simply a string to print it out. So I'm going to say testing in Selenium, right? WebDriver, for example. So that is my string that I would like to print out, and I'm saying this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and run it right there. And if it goes and prints it out, that means my Java is working. That's the first test. This is just to make sure Java is properly and it's working. So Java looks like it's integrated nicely and it's working fine. The next thing I want to make sure that if my WebDriver manager, who's going to help me create the WebDriver, or at least get the WebDriver that I need, if it's working. So create, let's say, WebDriver, or get WebDriver, maybe that's better way to put it. We're going to deal with Chrome for now. So I'm going to say WebDriver manager. So as you can see, before I even finish, it pulls it up from GitHub. And so WebDriver manager dot, what browser do I need? So as soon as I put a dot, it says, okay, I have Chrome browser, I have Firefox, I have Chromium, I have Edge, I have whatever you need, right? So IE and all of that stuff, right? So again, these different browsers suffer in Opera. It really depends on what kind of browsers that your team will support to your customer. These are the browsers we're going to be using for testing. So then you click on Chrome, you choose Chrome. As soon as you choose Chrome, you see like you only have few options that you can choose from, right? So it has avoid, export, and so many other things, but the only thing that you need to know is the setup, right? So we just set up ourselves a driver at this point. So now that we set up a Chrome driver, we can open Chrome. Without the driver, we will not be able to open Chrome. The good thing about it is if you were to do this manually, you would have to go to online, right? You have to write Chrome driver. And if you write Chrome driver, the first link on the website will take you to the Google website for downloading Chrome driver, and it will give you a friendly note to say, whatever version of browsers that you have, you want to grab the same version of Chrome driver. Otherwise, it's not going to work, period. Now, the great thing about the driver manager is that it will check what version you have on your computer, and then it will grab that version of driver. So it's automatically working for you. You don't have to worry about the version But if you do set up this manually on your own, without the WebDriver manager, so if you don't have WebDriver manager, you'll have to make sure that you're constantly updating the browser version and the Chrome driver version, which is the pain, right? So that's why the WebDriver manager is super helpful. Now that we have this, the next thing is open the browser, right? So open browser. So really, when I say open the browser, we're just creating a browser instance, right? We're actually creating a browser at this point. So now I can say WebDriver. Let's see. WebDriver, and I can give it a name. WebDriver is equal to driver this time, for example, let's say. I can give it a name, driver, browser, whatever I like, okay? Now I can say new, and at this point, I'm gonna say Chrome driver. So everybody, exactly at this point, what I need you to do is run it and tell me your result, okay? Okay, so did you guys run it? What kind of results you're getting?
Test pass.
You sure it's gonna say test pass? Do you have this line of code? 3 lines, right? This is not even a test yet, right?
Oh, no. I mean, yeah, I already have that. Yes.
Okay, so when you ran it, what happened exactly?
Actually, I already wrote the it's called diver.cat. Go to the Google page. So it just go to the Google page.
Google page. Okay, no, that's
Yeah,
fine.
It opened up
one
the Chrome window,
blank
but it
browser.
says Chrome is being controlled by automated test
Perfect,
software.
perfect. Okay, that's good. No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So if you're up to this much, you're up to like you're on the right track. If you're not up to this much, let me know so we can get you up to you know, at this stage, so that we can move forward with the next step. So anybody here need help
Me.
on getting into this? Okay,
Yes,
so
me.
let's
I'm sorry. I'm
no
so embarrassed to
no
say
no
that
no
I
no,
how
not at all. You're fine. Like I said, if you're stuck, that's helping everybody else because at least we're slowing down. So go ahead and share your screen.
I'm stuck on like the most silliest thing. I think how did you get into the class from the
Let's
okay,
share
hold on.
share the screen so we can solve it together. All right. So on the source, you want to click click open source right there. Yeah.
This one, right?
And then
Okay.
click open the test. Okay, on the Java folder, you want to click, you want to right click and create a class. So right click new class right there. Okay, so give it a name. So this is your first test. Maybe you can say first test, whatever is the case.
Okay, first.
It has to be uppercase to start with.
Okay.
Okay, so then press enter. Okay, and then inside of this class, you want to write your main method. So public static void main. Okay, there we go. The next thing that you want to do, you want to make sure things are working properly. So maybe do a system printout, right? And then just write something. SYSO, I believe, for a shortcut with the space bar. Okay, and then print ln. And then just write down like maybe a string. Selenium is maybe testing or whatever. Yeah, good. Okay, close your line. All right, perfect. So this line is gonna work. So the next thing that you want to do, you want to set up your driver. So since you have WebDriver Manager on your framework, so we're gonna use that. We don't want to write like 3 pages of code to open up the driver. So we're gonna just use the WebDriver Manager, right? So go to the next line. Okay. For your note, maybe write a single line comment to say get driver. Yeah, there we go. Get driver. So in this case, go to the next line and write WebDriver Manager. W is capital. Okay, and then find WebDriver Manager somewhere all the way, probably. I don't know. Manager right there. Yeah. When you it's and then do dot. And then it gives you options, what kind of browser that you like, right? So let's do Chrome to be consistent with everybody else. Yeah. And then do dot setup after that. There we go. Okay. And then press that. Okay, done. So now you can open Chrome, right? So write and next line on line number 8 and write WebDriver. Okay, and then give it a name, anything, right? So WebDriver space and then give it a name. Like maybe browser or driver, whatever you like. Should be lowercase. It's a variable. Variable starts with lowercase, guys, remember. Okay, equal to new. So you're basically calling the instance of the class, right? So now you're gonna say Chrome driver in here, space Chrome driver. C is capital, and no, yeah, right there, CHROM, right there. Yeah, that's the one. And end your line with the semicolon. Okay. Now you see a red message, right? So let's see, hover over that for me. And it says create a class. No, C is probably lowercase, I believe, right? I think I made a mistake. So on the right side where it says new, after the new, put a lowercase Chrome driver. Okay. Okay, that's fine. And hover over this on the left side again for the WebDriver. No, 1 second. Something is missing on this
I
case.
think WebDriver D is going to be capital.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you.
Good. That's the kind of eyes we need as a QA, right? Because trust me, even the simple uppercase, lowercase can save company money, right? Because it may create issues somewhere else in the page just because of that. Okay, now if you run it, it should open blank. And you can do save and then just click on run. Yeah. So there is 2 run option, right? When you see it, 5 and 6. If you click on 5, it will run all of the tests that belongs to this class. And if you click on 6, it will run only one test. So let's say reach end of the file while parsing. Okay, where did we make a mistake? Did you save it?
It's another bracket.
Oh, okay. There we go. You're missing, you're missing another curly bracket. So you have it end, you don't have a closing for the main class. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this expected?
Yeah, initially it takes a little bit of time. The first time it takes time because it's setting things up. But yeah, since you're full screen, you're not gonna see that, but there is a Chrome opened up probably somewhere on the right side. Oh, right there. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. Everybody's at this stage. Yeah, you can close it. All right, perfect. So now,
Thank you.
No problem. Let's go back to what we need to do. So we're gonna create our first test. Let me get back to sharing the screen. All right, so now that, and some of you guys that had that use IDE, this is super familiar to you as of right now. But the test itself is inside of a main method and everything, so it's not very, clean. So we're gonna basically clean that up using testng in a bit. But first, we need to learn how. Normally, in the very beginning, the ancient time, I would say back in 2009 and 10, when people used to write tests, this is how they would write it. But there is better ways, right? Now at this point, we're writing on the same page, but we have the ability to use the page object pattern, right? We have the ability to make our code more reusable by moving the code in different places and giving them names, calling them when I need them, right? So we're going to do that as well. But maybe today is going to be too much. So we'll see how far we can go. So the first thing first that we went there, the next thing that I want to teach you guys is called .get, right? This is a method. Okay, this is a method in Selenium. This method comes from Selenium. This has nothing to do with Java, okay? So just know that. But this method was created with Java for you, right? So if you tell your driver or browser, whatever name you gave, right, and you say .get, right? It says, hey, if you want to get something, give me a string first, okay? So it says, I will get you something, but I need something for you to tell me what to get, right? So in this case, let's say you want the driver to get you a website called, I'm just going to pick something else instead of what we did before earlier, right? Let's see. Maybe we'll just go back to our testing website, right? So let's say this first page on the auto side, right? Like, so remember, it's going to open up this page. That's the first code page, okay? So now I'm telling my Selenium to get me this link, okay? At this point, Selenium is going to visit this link, and the get method is designed to wait until this is fully loaded. So keep in mind, there is another method that goes but does not wait. It will just go and then it will not wait until it's finished. It's going to say I went, right? So somehow get method is being used most of the time, unless there's that one incident where you don't want to wait, right? There was a time where I was working for Wall Street Journal, and if you go to their website, the website takes a very long time to load, and the process happens in the background. So this get method would take a long time, very long time. Like it would wait for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes before it can go into the next step. So my way to kind of like combat the situation was to not use get, use something else called navigate. And so again, like based on what you need, and the reason why I needed to use that is because I don't want to wait 5 minutes. I can just still move on. Whatever is loaded in the page, I can just go and work with them instead of go and wait for every single item on the page to be loaded. So if you notice, and if you go to a web page, everything has like modularized, right? Okay, let me just leave this one. Let me go into a new website actually. Insurance or the website. Okay. So if you take this as an example, in this page, not everything is going to load at the same time. Something loads later, right? So let's say the main content already loaded. Why do we want to wait for the other things? We don't want to wait for it. We can just move on. But if it takes only 20 seconds, 30 seconds for everything to be loaded, then it's fine. You can use get. But if you have to wait 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes because something is still preloading, something is still loading, then and the whole page looks fine, but in the bottom somewhere in the corner is still loading, maybe like the prices of their stock or whatever is the case, right? And it's completely loading again and again and again. Now, do you want to wait for that? You don't want to wait for that, right? So that's when the get method is going to be something that you want to avoid. But just keep in mind, get method is going to visit a website and it takes a string. It doesn't care about URL. It takes a string. So it's your responsibility is to provide the string that is an URL. Okay. It doesn't validate basically, like it will work with it, but then it will say I cannot go to. So if I, instead of URL, if I do like this, it will come back and say I cannot go to that. This website doesn't exist. Obviously, right? It's obvious. So you have to be responsible with this when you use get method. You want to provide a URL. Okay. Now this URL, simply putting it directly in the get, or you can use some of your Java skills at this point. You can say, I would like to create a string called URL is equal to, this. And then I'll just go ahead and call this URL. So if I want to call this URL here, so let's test your Java skills. Somebody tell me if this is correct. Is it going to work or is it not going to work? Line number 17, is this correct? This is your basic Java skills, guys. that we did that in the previous classes.
You had to take out the quotations.
Why? It's
Well-
looking fine to me.
Because
Tell me why though.
string.
So you're saying this is not same as this.
No.
Okay, anybody else who wants to agree with me? This is same as this, let's say. And I could be wrong, right? I could be right, I could be wrong. So let's pick a side. Who's on my side right now?
I'll say this is right.
So you're on my side.
No,
Like
I
I
don't
said,
think
just be
that's right.
careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Like I said, just be careful because I may be wrong, right? So this is not right? Because, you know, as soon as you introduce the double code, this becomes a string. So this and this is not same anymore. Okay, they are not the same thing. Because you already created a variable and it has a value, your Java knows that this exists. URL has a meaning and it exists. So you don't need quotation. Quotation is only for series of characters that is not identified yet, and you want to still introduce to your code, and it could be as form of string. So as you can see, your IDE does a very good job of explaining also. It tells you that, okay, wait a minute, this name that you created is here. So it kind of highlights and tells you everything is okay. Everything is fine, as you can see right there. And it does give you some highlights in terms of problems like formatting, typos, and things like that. So maybe like this WebDriver right there, these two typos, it wants to fix it for you right there. You see two typos. So again, IDE, you want to pay attention to a little bit. So now that it will visit this, right? I know for a fact it will go into the first page of auto. So let's go into that. Actually, personal auto. This is where it's gonna land to. Actually, right here. Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm going to fill in first name, last name, email, phone number, and zip code, right? So the way that Selenium works, Selenium WebDriver works, right? Okay, let's do that. There's something called .send keys, okay? Send keys method works to mimic you as a human. If it doesn't mimic human, then it's not a good test, right? So any of the Selenium stuff that is doing, if it's not mimicking human, then maybe your program is fine. But then when the time comes for actual human using the application is not fine. So your test is kind of worthless, right? So that's why it is very important for Selenium to mimic us, right? Human beings. So we're going to use send keys. Before we use send keys, we have to tell Selenium where to use it. Send keys is basically to enter some keys. So whatever I put in here, it will enter it for me one by one, right? So I can say enter my name, John, right? So it will enter John for me. But then Selenium needs to know what element. You cannot just say enter John. Like, okay, if I tell you right now as a human being, enter John, what is your next thought? What you will ask me? Where, right? Yeah, it's very important where. And now, if you say where, then Selenium needs to know where. So driver that you already created, or some of you guys named it as browser, whatever your case is. So it's already there. So up to this much, it already visited the website. So you have to assume it's already there, right? So you say driver, since you're already there, I want you to find this element first. So you're going to point out which element. So in this case, the first name we want to enter John. So I'm going to inspect it. I'm going to find the location or the locator. So in this case, and I'm going to talk about multiple locators, right? So you go ahead and click on this first name and you see it has identification. The first name has identification. It has name, it has ID. Luckily, Selenium understands name and ID both, right? So I'm going to say Selenium find a element. This one is for find a single element and this is for multiple element. As you can see, list and just one. So I'm going to say find one element by, at this point dot, I'm going to say ID because it has an ID. And let's look at the ID. So this is the ID and this is the value. I'm going to take the value of the ID and I'm going to paste it right there. And so this is what I want to find by. And once I find it, I want you to enter something for me. I'm going to use send keys as you noted right there, right? So I'm going to say send keys. I'm going to go ahead and enter John, right? That's what I wanted to enter. And the next thing is by is already upset and it's red, which means that it wants to know where you're using the by from. By is coming from somewhere here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hover over it and it says import. I'm going to click on import and it will add it right there. So you see by is coming from Selenium, WebDriver is coming from Selenium, Chrome is coming from Selenium, and then WebDriver manager is coming from whatever libraries, right? So all of these things are being used, as you can see, right? So so we're not really reinventing any wheels. We have tools and we're using as needed, right? So you don't have to write things from scratch. You don't have to invent things. It's already there. You just have to know how to use it. That's it. So now with these send keys, I can type it on the first name using ID. And then the second one, okay, let's just run it at this point and see if it works. And then after that, we move on to the next up, right? So let's see. And what I want everybody to do is run it. And if you see right now, it's typed John. Obviously, if you're missing the right URL, I'll send it to you now. But if you see John is typed into your browser that is open, and you'll see multiple browser open because each time it opens a new browser. So right click and quit the previous browser if you need to, and we'll show you how to automatically close the browser after testing is done. For now, we'll leave it on, okay? Anybody is not up to this much that we can help. Okay, and
I'm having an issue again.
okay, that's fine. So let's do the sharing. And everybody else is up to this much then, right? Okay, I assume everybody is up to this much. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, so now the problem is very simple. One of you guys help. I'm just gonna stay quiet because it's too simple for me to say anything. Arafat, what do you see in here that you can help?
You have to set up the WebDriver driver. You see the driver is red. So because of that,
Yeah.
it's coming the error.
So line number 11, you named it as browser, but then you're using driver, right?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you want to
goodness.
change, yeah, change that to browser because, like I said, the reason why I hope I didn't confuse you because the reason why I named it differently 2 different times is because it can be anything. It could be Evelina, and now you say Evelina.get, and it will get it as long as you named it in line number 11. Before you do that, there is few things that you did wrong also, right? Okay, so what is wrong with line number 14? Line number 14, you don't have the right URL, right? Because we're going directly to this first step page. So copy the, if you go, yeah, I actually sent it out. Yeah, this whole, yeah, you can copy that and paste it there. The whole URL, yeah.
Okay.
So that way we don't have to deal with unnecessary stuff. Okay. So once you do that, line number, okay, this is fine. Line number 19, we have a problem with character sequence, right? So you have, okay, you're doing by ID, but why do you have those like dots and stuff like that? Can you get rid of those stuff?
I was copying your screen. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Get rid of the whole thing, character sequence as well. This is like probably like a placeholder. Copied it also.
Yeah, I
Okay,
copied
just
it.
only, yeah, just keep John.
There you go.
Okay,
Okay.
if you run it, you should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's coming.
Okay, perfect. Good. So far, no problem. So far, you guys learned, few things, right? You learn how to get to a URL. You learn how to deal with a text box, right? So now to give you guys a little bit of comfort before we move on to the next step, I just want to tell you one thing is that in a website, let's say in a website, tell me what are the elements that we as a human interact with. So the first one is, I'll give it to you, is input box or text box, the one that we just text field, right? What else do we have? And this is the one that we just dealt with, right? So what else do you think we have? And obviously everything is an element. Selenium thinks everything is an element, but these are the different type of elements. The first type was input box. I gave you as a given. What else do you have? What else do you deal with as a human being? You don't have to think about automation, no technical stuff. Just tell me in the past, what other elements that you have dealt with in the past? Even if you sign up on Facebook or something, whatever is the case.
Probably username, login, password.
No, but username and login and password, everything is a type of text field, yes?
Okay.
Okay.
What else? The
So you were saying username and just text field is the only thing belongs to a web page, nothing else.
no, homepage.
Sometimes it
The
has different tags.
profile.
Look, homepage, profile, and everything, these are whole. You're talking about blocks, like whole chunk, right? Homepage can have anything, right?
Yes.
Come on, use your critical thinking. You guys already in this field, right? Just push it a little bit and tell me. You guys ever heard of buttons?
Buttons. Yes.
What else?
Links.
Okay, links. What else?
Drop downs.
Drop down, okay. What else? Maybe image. And then checkbox. I'm gonna speed it up because it's already 10. Then you have a radio. Radio is like when you have like a circular one and you just only, so you're supposed to select only one, right? When you have two choices. Okay. Now, these are the elements mostly, even though we got image and other things, to automate a test case, we're going to be dealing with these elements and these elements only, right? There's not too many extra stuff, right? There's nothing I can think of right now. Can you guys think of anything else as a human that we deal with in a web page? Obviously, paragraphs and reading text is different, right? These are just text. Right? Video, we don't do testing using Selenium. There are limitations. We don't do video stuff like that. So now, this is for you to get some motivation, right? That's why I'm even bringing it up for you guys. You already learned how to deal with text box. You already did today, right? Everybody's confident about text field, how to write on a text field. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So at least some of you guys respond so that way we don't have to take a pause, right? So as a human, you tell me what can you do on a text field? So you can write. We already write it. Okay, fine. What else can you do?
We read.
You can delete, you can erase, right? So I can delete text, let's say. Okay, what else can you do?
You can edit.
Yeah, I mean, edit meaning like you deleted and you wrote it again, right? That's technically this is what we will be doing if we use Selenium. Okay, what else?
Copy paste, I don't know.
Okay, so you can copy, paste. You can also verify text. If it's already there, you can verify some text. So you can get text basically. You can get the text, so then you can compare, right? So these are a few things as a human we can do. For buttons, you can click. Can you click on the thing? Yes, you can, right? So you can also say you can click on it too. You can click on it as much as you want. So for buttons, we can click on it. For buttons, we can read the text of the button, like what the button is representing text. So we can actually get text of button. And then we can see if the button is enabled. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna speed it up since, it's been some time, enable or disabled. So as a human, we can do these things ourselves, right? The links is gonna be same thing. We can read link text. Basically, we can get the link text. We can click on
the
it.
text.
We can see what URL it goes to. So you can get the URL of the link. And what else do we do to the links? So you guys getting the idea, right? What I'm saying, right? So Selenium can do everything what a human can do to these elements, right? And Selenium cannot do if you cannot do it yourself. So if you're automating something and you're looking at this page and you as a human being are not able to type it here, then Selenium cannot type it, period. Because it's going from the same angle as human. So somehow these field is not moving at all, it's disabled, and you type it and it's not working for you as a human, and you think you're gonna make Selenium work. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna do it, right? And the other thing is that the idea here is that we're mimicking human with Selenium. So if you come in here and you see last name field doesn't work, right? For you as a human, should we even be automating? You should be logging a bug right away. And then you wait until bug is fixed before you can write your automated test. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense, right? What I'm saying to you guys. So now here is the motivation piece, right? That I was trying to tell you guys. For us to be a really good automation expert and proficient with automation, we need to know these elements. How do we write, delete, copy, paste, get text, and click, and things like that to each one of these elements? Because our test case may say that we want to go to this website and do these certain things. And then we wait for an outcome, right? And then we do the validation. There is nothing more than this, right? As long as you know input box, buttons, links, drop down, and radio buttons, checkbox and image, we are golden, right? So it's not like we have endless items, guys. That's what I'm trying to say, right? We don't have like 30 items. We don't have 20 items. We don't have 15 items. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items that we need to be good at in order to become a really good automation expert. That's it. Does it help for you to see your future? Or does that kind of like, oh man, I can't do this? I just don't want people to feel discouraged because it looks complex. It's just 7 items. So it will be hard, but yes, it's only 7 items. Now, in order for you to deal with these elements, Selenium understands the locators, right? It's called locators can you give me 1 second? I'm getting so much calls. All right. So what I was saying is, with Selenium, in order to deal with these elements, right? All of these different kind of elements in a page, it has locators. And I think that total locators is like 8. The first thing is it uses its ID, okay? And we already know how to get the ID, right? All you have to do is right click, inspect on the field that you'd like to get the ID of. And now you're seeing that this guy has an ID, right? But then Selenium also understands names plus names, CSS locators, XPath. It understands the link text, partial link text. What else? And the DOM. DOM I'll explain later what that is. So now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of locators for you to use in order to identify an element to do something with that. These are the actions that we will do. This is called actions. This is an element, right? These are some actions that we can perform, and this is the elements. In order to perform these actions to this element, you need to identify this element. In order to identify this element, you have these 7 type of locator. Now, which one to use? You'll be confused and say, okay, I got 7 type. I don't know which one to use. Why you put ID first? The idea is that if you have available, right now you have name and ID available, I will use ID because that's like the first thing I want to use, right? Let's say this is the first priority. For some reason, the ID, it looks weird and it has some crazy numbers at the end. That tells me that ID actually changes as when people refresh the page at all times. So now my test is not going to pass the next time I run it because the ID is not going to be same. So then in that case, I will say, okay, I don't want to use ID, I want to use name. Now I go into this element, somehow ID is not there, okay? And then you go into the name is also not there. So now you say, Joel, I don't know, this thing that I want to use, it's missing ID and name. And these are the locators I can use. None of these are available. So now you have 2 options, CSS and XPath. These 2 you can still use. How do you use it? You again locate your element. Notice the ID and name is not there. You can right click, click copy, and then selector, sorry. Selector is for CSS, right? So I can copy this and I can even test it right here. If I do command find, I can paste it in here and it found it. You see 1 of 1, 1 of 1, it highlights it is because that is the unique locator for this element and it will work. Now you have the secondary choice is the XPath. You can copy and you can say, you know what, I want to go ahead and copy the XPath call. And you can go ahead and use that XPath as well. You see, it will still find it for you. And this is like where you can test to make sure this locator is good and working. So that way you can plug it into your code. Any question? So far, we covered ID, name, class name, XPath. So these type of locators, if they're available on your website, then you can use. So if you, let's say email address, I go into email, I see name is available, ID is available, I can choose between these 2 and see which one to use. The way that you choose is by seeing which one is unique. If it's not unique, you don't use it. So let's say, again, this is not there. This is not there. Okay, but then there is something called class is equal to, I'm gonna just put a whatever, demo 122, right? Whatever. So you can see there is a class name available. So in this case, now you're going to use class name because why do you want to go and use CSS locator and XPath when you have something, the next item, right? Or something that is more easier. So you take the class name, you can just go ahead and use the class name because Selenium understands class name, right? So we're going to use class name to locate that same element. So the idea here is that in order to locate this element, you have 7 type of locators at your disposal and use them as needed and what is available to you. You don't invent those. This comes from the browser. And you can say, wait a minute, but you added this right here. I added to my copy of this website. This website right now displaying on my browser, so it's my copy. The moment I refresh it, it pulls a fresh copy. Now it no longer has the changes, right? So it really is, you know, we need to use something that is actually there. Now, what if nothing is working for you? Then you can reach out to the developer and say, hey, can you add an ID to this element? And they will add it. They'll be happy to add it for you, right? So you only reach out to them when you really, really absolutely need it. to make sure that they will add an ID. Maybe the next release, they will add an ID for you. And from that release, you'll be fine. Okay. Now, if you're an expert on coding, you can add the ID yourself. You have to go into the application code. You have to find exactly the location where you add that ID. So you have to go through the entire code repository and see exactly where to add it. But obviously, the easiest thing is to do is ask the developer and say, hey, can you add an ID here? I'm just stuck, right? And then they will add it for you. But most importantly, 99% of the time, these two is going to work for you, XPath and locator. Okay, these two is going to work for you if you just copy from here. Okay, just keep in mind. So obviously, we're going to learn how to use each and every single one of them for each and every single element. So again, I'm giving you guys a reiteration of what's happening. This is an element, text field. We want to do some action. The actions that are available to us is this. Writing, we can write it, we can delete it, we can copy paste, and whatever is the case. In order for us to do this kind of action to this element, we need to locate it. In order to locate it, we have these locators that we can use. So we have to go and check and find which locator is available. So in this case, if you have name and ID, then that's what we have for us to use. So if you go back to your task right here, you can see we have ID because that's something that we had available. So let's look at the last name. Last name also has name elements. So I'm going to go ahead and use name as a locator. And I'm going to go ahead and find the value for last name. Okay, so I'm using name at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and find the value for name. See name and the value. I will go back to my test, and I'm going to go ahead and put L name here. John, I'm going to say Doe, whatever, or John Smith, whatever is the case. And I'm going to run my test, and you'll see that it will fill it out for me for first name and last name. Okay, so John Smith was, and you see how quick that is. You can actually slow down. You can actually tell Selenium to slow down a little bit so people can see it, but there's no need for it, right? We want our test to run as fast as possible. So now that you have this, you can actually now do the same thing for email, phone number, and the zip code. So if you look at the email, okay, so one of you guys guide me now that I explained, because this is something that nobody's gonna explain to you like how this actually works in our mechanism. So guide me if I want to write something on the email, what will you do? And then this will probably, and everybody follow the same thing, right? So one of you guys guide me now. Oh, you know what? No, forget about guiding me because you guys can share. So who should we ask to do the next line of code? Everybody is at least up to this much, right? We got the first name, last name correct. Right? Yes. Everybody's good? Up to this much? You guys still here?
Yeah, getting there.
Okay. All right. Okay, anybody want to volunteer for the next line? The next line is to write something on the email address. It's going to be same, it's very similar. We can guide you also. So all you have to do is share your screen. Nobody want to do that? Okay, I know it's late, right? So that's fine.
I'll do
all
it. I'll do it.
Okay. So let's do it. Let's do it. I'll
Okay.
stop sharing.
1 second. Can you see it? Hello?
You still have the same problem with the line number 20 character sequence. I don't know where that's coming from. It shouldn't be, right? If you put dots and keys, you don't even see this thing. Okay, and then
Because I keep typing it out, and that's how I get this thing. I don't know a better way to do it.
Okay. All right, let's see. Maybe this time we'll notice what's the difference. So go ahead and write the next line.
I'm guessing it's the same thing.
Similar, right? So you're saying browser find me the element. Okay.
Mhm.
And then by, so do you want to use ID or name? How do you know that?
Probably ID because that's the first thing we want, right?
No, let's not guess. Like, tell me exactly how will you determine whether you want to use ID or name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the easiest thing you can do, go to the browser and find out, right? We can't invent it, right? So we just go into the browser and go into that exact page. Okay, now find out for yourself what is available to you. Okay, so
ID.
now you see ID is there, name is there. So you're gonna use ID because that is probably the first
Right.
thing. Yeah. And they'll probably ask you in an interview, what is your favorite, CSS locator or XPath or ID? And you know, you're gonna say ID is probably the first one is easiest to go with, but if it's not unique and it's not there, I will use CSS locator. CSS locator is not there, and I will use this. So it's really what is available to you at this point, you know. Okay, no. Don't type character sequence. Yeah. Okay, so here it's expecting a string. So go ahead and put double quote. Okay.
Oh,
Now
I
put an
see.
email
Oh my
address.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you see character sequence on the in like in that color, gray color and stuff, this is just a placeholder. It doesn't really, it's not part of your code. It's just IDE highlighting and telling you, hey, it was characters sequence that you're entering, and that's it. It has nothing to do with your code. If you save your code and open it somewhere else, you'll see character sequence is not there. This is just for you as a note from your IDE. Okay, so you did that. That's good. So if you run it, and it should work. Okay, so when you run it from the class level, it will run all the tests. So if you have 10 tests, it will run all 10 tests. So just remember the difference between 7 and 8.
Okay. It worked.
All right, great. Guys, so far we're all at this level, correct? For some of you guys,
Yeah.
this is gonna feel like, oh, this is so basic. This is fine, totally fine, right? I want you guys to get comfortable with this because we're gonna go more on the commercial side. Actually, what we will do in a regular project when it comes about writing automation, what are the best practices? We can go into best practices unless we have the basic knowledge. Unfortunately, today's time already, I don't want to keep you guys awake for longer, and I know some of you guys worked throughout the day. So test NG, we're going to cover it on the next time. And for test NG, we're going to create a completely new framework. So this is a basic framework using JUnit, Selenium, and Maven with WebDriver Manager. That's it. Now, if you ask me, can I use this framework in a commercial application? Yes, you can, as long as you are focusing on the coding standard, right? As long as you creating reusable code, then it will be fine. So we'll get to that point, but first we have to get these frameworks out of the way. So far, we haven't done much of a Java, right? So you may say, okay, we didn't finish advanced Java. That's totally fine. We haven't touched advanced Java yet, and we actually didn't do any Java. So far, today's class, we only learned how to use methods from Selenium, okay? We learned how to create a Maven project, which is completely different, right? So just whatever we did today, if you can grasp those, that is good enough. And we, in the future classes, when we get out of the way with the basic framework like this one, when we're done, then we're going to start to use best practices such as creating page object pattern and all of that. That's when we're going to have to use the advanced Java, which is 4 pillars of object-oriented programming language. We're going to use inheritance a lot. We're going to use creating different classes, actions. We're going to put everything in their different places, make it more organized, right? We can only get there until we finish, unless we finish this thing. So let me worry about the planning on what we will learn and exactly what will win. But most importantly, just you worry about what you got today, and kind of like acing, kind of like grabbing that knowledge. So that way we can continue to move forward, just like today's class, without doing or repeating a class again, right? So just make sure the next class you're ready. What I would say, now that you have this framework, you can actually go to your Selenium IDE and record 5 tests, and you can bring it here and it'll work. Okay, if you know how to fix the I'll give you guys a tip right here, because I still have the other framework open, so that way you're not blocked or anything. So last time when we did this, the only place you have to work on versus before, you'll see the setup. This is where you just have to add these 2 lines and erase everything else, and your test should be running fine if you do record. So again, you're supposed to do this in today's class, but Saturday, I'm going to expect you guys to have at least on your new framework, 5 test cases that you can actually record from your IDE. Okay. And I'm going to look to see if your test case has validation and you're doing the right thing. You know, it's not just simply going in there and, clicking here and clicking there, but it actually makes sense. So you choose the test cases, what you're validating, 5 of them. I'm going to send out the homework so that way nobody forgets like last time. And if you guys don't have any question, we'll end the night. So any questions?
I have a question. I have a question.
Sure.
On the same page, right? Are we treating the drop down the same way as we're, doing the inputs?
Okay, that's a good question, because you see, today we learn how to deal with the input boxes. Button is going to be very similar way to deal with the text field, but the drop down has an extra step. Okay, so if you Google it, you'll see how to deal with drop down, but I would say wait for me. If you feel confused, I'm going to explain how to deal with drop downs separately, because drop down is the only locator, I would say, or only element that is a bit more harder to deal with, but everything else is pretty straightforward on how we dealt with the text field.
Okay, so you'll show us next class, right?
Yeah, next class I'll show you guys. Like I said, each one, my goal is to make sure that I finish with these elements, each one at a time. And this is, I'm calling basic for now. And then as soon as we're done, we're going to start to work more on organizing our tests. Obviously, you're going to be writing test cases per class, and then we're going to learn how to take a test like this one. How do we clean it up and make it look really well, and that is more ready for the real world, right? So we're going to talk about that, because this is a very basic single page test. And we're going to create multi-dimensional, right? Things will come from everywhere in order to make your test more effective. So things are gonna, again, we're gonna go toward that kind of, direction only if we feel comfortable with all 3 type of frameworks. So we're gonna learn 3 different frameworks. This was just one, right? And you'll see each framework has their own unique features. So this one, you'll see it doesn't have a lot of features, to be honest, because it's just basic, right? You run the test, you write the test. Obviously, we haven't even configured the report yet. How do we create the report? But we'll do that in the next class. But once we're done, you'll see the last framework that we do, how organized that is by the time we're hitting the last automation class. Just keep that in mind. By the way, one of our student from the last batch, I think some of you guys know her. I don't want to name it, but she joined a project, and initially, like from now to all the way mid-January, they said do manual testing because we're not ready. So they're not ready to do automation. So now they said, okay, but we need training from you. So she has to train the existing guys. And those existing guys actually reaching out to say, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that. So now she comes out, I'm like, oh, I don't know, how should I do this? And I'm like, okay, so you have almost 2 months. I gave her access to our Udemy class, and I said, listen, the best thing you can do is that go to this Udemy class, start taking notes from each lessons that you're learning from the Udemy, And then just every day, just teach one lesson that you learned before that. And then by the time you finish the class and they finish the class, you will be knowledgeable and they will be knowledgeable. It's the easiest thing you can do. And this is like something that happened to us over and over again with some of our previous students, where they joined and they said, oh, the whole team doesn't know Selenium and they want us to train me, or they want me to train them. Oh, okay, no problem. Just follow a course for yourself and then just teach the same thing. Yes, you're not going to be like great, but at least you're not going to be somebody who has no idea, right? You can share notes. You can actually download the notes from the class that you'll be taking from Udemy, and then you can distribute to them. And you can even reveal it to them. I learned it from Udemy. That's totally fine. You know, it's learning. So you can even tell your team, okay, guys, this is the Udemy course we're going to follow, right? That's totally fine by any company when it comes about learning. So you're not going and just telling them I do everything from scratch. I'm the one who did this. No, well, I follow this Udemy classes and I'm going to teach you guys exactly from the same angle so we can be in the same page. And then you can start from there, and perfectly fine for you to be honest about that if you need to. So that's what the advice that I gave. And I said, listen, you know, we can sit down, we can give you the framework and all that stuff, but since the learning is involved, it's better you prepare yourself for teaching in about a couple months. But most importantly, if you follow an outline from an actual course that is in Udemy, it will not only help you, but also help them the real way. So they get the value out of, you know, you and hiring you. And she was super happy about it. Oh, okay, that's fine. I'm going to get started, right? And it worked for us in the past too, where students actually had to do some training after they created a framework or after they wrote some test, and everybody was happy, but then they need some training before they can even help you write some test cases, right? Because these guys don't know. Now, this is the type of situation only happens in like, doesn't happen all the time, right? It only happens like once in a while, but most of the companies out there, chances are automation is already there. You just go and you just contribute. You'll probably end up learning from them. They just need another coworker. That's it, right? But if you face this kind of special situation, you should be more happy, because now not only that you're gonna have a lot of opportunity to learn, but also you'll learn even better by teaching. All right, guys, any questions? If not, then we will, I'll see you guys on Saturday. And don't forget the homework. Again, like I said, we need 5 test cases. I want to see 5 test cases right here. You can use your Selenium IDE skill set, or you can write it yourself, right? Either way, I'll be happy with either way, but I want to see 5 test cases. You know, I don't think I will just create a Google form for that. You know, I can just check it. So each one of you guys will show me your screen. Then I can just see who did it or who didn't. And I'll just say, take the names from there, because that is not even quiz related or anything. It's just code, right? So
You want us to create a class for each of the test cases?
yes, so you'll have 5 classes created here. All 5 should have 5 different tests.
And we're
create
doing
something
exactly what we
meaningful.
did today.
Well, you know, it's really up to you, right? I mean, you can be, you know, you can be more creative and maybe like go into a website and say, okay, I want to test specifically. So the best way for you to learn, actually, you go into a website and you first create a test case and say, my mindset is to come in here, click on business and click on bonds, and then verify if this button will take me to this page. And after entering information here, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That.com. Okay, let's see. After entering information here, it takes me to the next page and validate the next page, for example. So once you already tell your mind that this is the test case I want to validate, whatever difficult situation you're facing in the beginning, you're not going to just run away thinking, okay, this is not the easiest. I'm going to just go ahead and find the easiest possible thing for me to do. You'll say, okay, I want to at least get it done, right? So I would say, if you want to challenge yourself, write the test case ahead of time, already know what test case you want to validate, what you're validating, and then automate it. So that way the challenges are there. But if you like just casually writing your lines and then going through the pages and then say, okay, I'm just going to create a validation here and I'm done. Then you don't have the challenge, right? You don't really have the challenge, right? So that means whatever you were able to do, you didn't expand. It's like workout, right? You didn't add extra weights, and you were just doing the same weights over and over again, which doesn't help. So just, like I said, 5 test cases I care about. I'm going to look into if the test cases are complete or not, if you use assertions or not, and if the test cases make sense. That's what I'm going to be looking into in order to grade them. But it's up to you how much challenge you want to take, right? So you don't have to even select this website. You can select any other website, but it's probably easier for you to stick to this website because it's predictable. It's more predictable than any other websites.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, guys, before we can end for the day?
Yeah, Joel bhai, I told you about the IntelliJ. Can you show me, please?
What? So okay, so you were watching from the phone, right, all this time, and
No,
then?
I use computer, laptop.
Okay. So if you told me this in the very beginning, we could have done the whole thing from the beginning. So let's do one thing. I don't want to keep everybody waiting. Take a picture of that, send it to me, and I'll see if it's a quick fix. If it's not a quick fix, I'll set up some time tomorrow and then just go over this problem separately.
Okay.
Okay, yes, just take a picture, send it to me in the group, it's fine. And so this is the problem that I'm facing, and then we can go from there. All right, guys, so we will see you guys on Saturday, and just, like I said, do as much as possible. This should be pretty exciting at this time.
This is Auto.
Hi.
So I'm like, this is my second class, so I'm trying to cope up with you guys, but let's see. So I don't know about the homeworks, like how I can finish or how I can start even. So if you can help me with that, maybe next class or any other way, that will be very helpful.
So your brother, he
Yeah.
can probably help, right? Because he's the one he initially.
I know. I told him many times. He's like, okay, you will get it. You will get it. But he's not that cooperative. Like
No,
busy
okay, that's
with his
fine. So
stuff.
set up
Yeah.
some time with me tomorrow, like 8 to 10 p.m. and I'll
At night. Okay. I work
yeah,
till
so
9.
9. Okay, so after 9. So that way
Okay.
I can bring you up to speed because you missed quite a few classes.
Yeah.
Obviously, no pressure, because if you're able to catch up, that's great. If you're not able to catch up, we're gonna have a next batch that you can go
Okay.
into. All right.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. See you
And
guys.
can you please post the recordings for this class and the last class?
Yes, I will.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
normally Shantabai does the managing of all of this, and he's on a vacation, so I'll try to do that. Yeah, I'll probably do that like in next 20-30 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good
Good night. Thank you.